This material is made available to you by or on behalf of the University of Melbourne under Section 113P of the Copyright Act 1968. It may be subject to copyright. For more information, visit the University Copyright website.
The practices are quite diverse from industry sector to sector, different maturities. I can talk a little bit about myself. I have worked in a relatively mature industry, so I had a lot of students and work as well with manufacturing and automotive, aerospace. More recently here I've worked in infrastructure systems. So we are looking at a production approach in construction. Yeah? So this is kind of bringing manufacturing basically to the construction industry. Let's dive straight in. My name is Robert Müller. You can call me Robert or Rob. With Bob or alteration, it gets ambiguous. You probably get my attention, but you probably have to try a few times. Yeah. So Robert or Rob is normally the safest. Yeah. So please call me just by my first name. I'm quite comfortable with this. You notice as well this slightly disturbing accent. Yeah, this comes from Berlin. I'm from Germany. I grew there up. And once you have learned the German alphabet, it's difficult to get rid of this. I have been over 30 years now overseas. I've been in the UK, in England, for 15 years of my academic life. Then the past 7 years here. Yeah, so I've just joined Melbourne University from Monash University over the road. Actually from the UK, I came basically with a wonderful call. So I was headhunted to develop a Master of Project Management. So I've kind of now 15 years project management experience in education or industry. Too much about myself. Let's get started. So what will we cover today? First, the course welcome. So this comes in a second. I have as well my team here. So you will see me for a lot of the lectures. We have as well a lot of guest lectures. Yeah, so I want to introduce you actually to all kinds of industries and practices that we have here in Australia and international. That is at least a tenth of this subject. Then I have a wonderful team. I introduce them in a second. They will be as well running with you tutorials and sometimes help me as well in delivering lectures. But we come to that in a second, and they will introduce themselves. And then we have the subject overview. So this is normally the currency. Yeah? So how do you get the ticket? Yeah? So how do you get an amazing mark for the subject? So first of all, subject schedule, of course, and assessment structure, assessment strategy, structure of the subject itself, and a little bit kind of what I expect from you. So kind of our code of practice, how we want to work together. Yeah, so I indicate that too. I've noticed here in Melbourne, you have different motivation strategies, so I've kind of embraced this. So we have as well some quizzes that Omar will actually operate for me, and he will give you initially, I think, here an overview, and then you will see how it rolls out. Now the quizzes are more like a check-in that you actually read along the content. So if you pay attention and you think a little bit along, then you should actually get probably a maximum mark every time. Yeah, so it's not meant to really be too challenging, but motivate you to join in. We have as well group work in this unit. Projects are normally in teams, or multiple teams of teams, And this is the same case here. So we kind of try to authentically reflect this, of course. Now then, today we have as well an overview of project management. I will talk a little bit what project management is and what practice is. We hopefully come to some definitions together. And then I talk as well a little bit about another role of mine. I've been as well heavily involved in professional bodies, industry clusters. So what are actually the standards of professional bodies that we have? Is project management a profession or not? Yes, this will be a critical question. And then we have as well overview of a project. So we have a look at 2 examples to understand actually different dimensionalities of projects and what they actually mean for different practices. Then we have the consideration of project success. So this is a phlegmatic term, project success. Means different things to different people. And actually I'm jumping here one already. So shall I hand over to you, Omar, So Omar has a wonderful get to know you exercise. So we want to run a quick poll with you to see what's your background. Yeah, so we were interested here in professional background or maybe engineering background. If you have done project management, pop that in too, to kind of indicate to us, yeah, what you're doing at the moment. You want to jump or?
We wait a little bit. So yeah, here is the code. So just scan the QR code and just type in what is your engineering background. So well, engineering for sure, but we have a few of environmental, management, civil, metallurgy. Interesting.
Yeah, in the UK, I was in a tiny place called Newcastle upon Tyne, not to be mixed up with the Newcastle here in Australia. And actually, the Association for Project Management was founded in Newcastle in the mining and metallurgy building. Yeah, believe it or not, I think 1960s. Yeah, so it's still quite young actually. So that was to the notion of metallurgy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there anyone with a different background than engineering? Everyone is engineer here?
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe a sentence to this. For engineers, it can be quite easily that you get promoted out of very beloved engineering work that you're doing into being suddenly team leader or project manager. Yeah? And this is normally the point where you recognize that your very beautiful sculpted syllabus of engineering, mathematics, understanding different systems, suddenly is left in a sphere where there's something missing. And that is often the social side. That is leadership, team management, yeah, and other competencies. We have a look at it. But project management is renowned as an accidental profession, at least in Europe. Here we are still a domain, yeah, so we have professional bodies, but we are not professionally accredited yet. So this is an interesting story we have to look into. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that we can move on to the next part. So these give us actually a good overview of the cohort. So I guess that pretty much the majority of you are civil. The second and third one I think is mechanical engineering and engineering management. Also we have a few of environmental, electrical and structural. Yeah, I think that those are the main ones. I mean, that one is like really specific, refrigeration. That's interesting. But okay, so let's just move on to the next one.
So we had there as well IT and economy, and I think as well as civil engineering or structural. So this will be your currency. I will ask you later about what is your typical project life cycle. What are the phases, how you are kind of designing something and then making it. So that will be actually quite interesting because it's not the same.
Okay, so for this one, again, scan the QR code and just pin where are you originally from.
Super. Oh. Somebody just disappeared from America, right?
yeah, it was someone from America, not anymore.
Oh, what is that? Amazing. Somebody has amazing geographical knowledge of the islands. I'm quite impressed.
Do we have anyone from North America or South America? No? No one? That's interesting. I think this is the first time that we don't have anyone.
Yeah, but it's good. So we have a little bit Europe, a little bit Africa, and then quite a central focus around kind of Southern Asia, and then leading down to Australia, Oceania. Yeah, but no one from Oceania. Yeah, maybe. No.
For someone from
Yeah.
the US, that's good.
Yeah, very good. Oh, so a little bit US, yeah. So partly from US.
Well, that's really good. I think that we have people from different parts of the world, so probably you have different perspectives of how to develop projects, and that is really good. We are going to have, we're going to cover one topic about that one pretty much at the end of the subject, but that is good. Okay, good to know that we have people from different parts of the world. So I guess that we can.
Share the screen completely. Yeah, so I mean that is another dimension. We have actually different policies, standards, and even sometimes professional bodies that have completely different frameworks that create very strange outcomes. Very controversial example that just came to mind because it's very recent. In the news, you may have followed the fascinating topic of nuclear power plants. Yeah, they're fascinating on many dimensions. But the main point that I want to make here is not really the controversy and how difficult it is to build them, but it's more how successful we are to deliver those systems. And then you see countries that have actually a lot of them in the US, as well in Europe we have some countries like France that are heavily involved in this. They are not good at delivering those. Yeah, they run always over time, a lot over costs, they're not good. And if you then come to some other countries like South Korea, Japan, or even Russia or Finland, they're incredibly sufficient in delivering them. They're even underspending. How is that possible, you ask, right? And that will be a question we can actually look into. But the quick answer is, it's how we are procuring and basically running the projects that there is a hint behind this. So if you have strong political influence in the project life cycle, this is quite difficult to do. Yeah? Okay, now the more important point. Oh, you met already Omar very quickly. I may hand over to you. So Omar is our lecturer and tutor, and he helps me as well to kind of arrive here at Melbourne University. So once you have been at multiple universities, you will see the systems are always slightly different, and just when you think you have worked it out, you realize you haven't. So Omar is my absolute life savior here. But yeah, maybe introduce yourself.
Well, hi everyone, hopefully you can hear me well. So my name is Omar. I'm going to be giving a few lectures and the tutorials with also the other tutors. And well, just to tell you just brief about my background, I am industrial engineer by training. I have a master's in systems engineering, then I have a specialization in energy management, and I completed my PhD here in the University of Melbourne like 1.5 years ago. Well, my expertise is in energy projects. So that is a little bit about my academic pathway and a little bit about my professional pathway. So well, I have been working in different sectors, and I started working in a small startup company that was focused on technological trading. Then I moved to another sector that is the logistics and transportation sector. I was working there for a couple of years. And then I had a really good opportunity to join a consulting company working for the government of Mexico. So I am originally from Mexico. And I was working for the government of Mexico with projects that had to do with sustainability, energy efficiency, emissions, and all those topics. And basically, what we were doing there, we were supporting research and development projects that had to do with sustainability. So in this case, we were working with the industry, with the academia, and with the government together to try to support different research and development projects to advance the transition to a more sustainable country. Back then, we were having I think that more than 300 projects. All of them with different technological stages, and we had really good outcomes in terms of project development and project completion, and really good initiatives in terms of sustainability. And well, since then I was working there, and then I decided to come here to do my PhD to give better tools for decision making in terms of sustainability transitions. And I have been working in academia since then, so I have been working in teaching, tutorials, research for the past 6 years, I guess. But yeah, well, that is a little bit about me.
Yeah, super. And to contextualize it, so in a way, Omar, you have as well described, right, the front end of a multi-project environment, or probably portfolio of many projects. So it's often policies that shape what we're actually performing in terms of our projects. Yeah, but we will come to that.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Omar. Okay, next I have Yimin Lee or Peter.
My name is Lee. Nice to meet you all. A little bit about myself. I did my civil engineering bachelor degree in University of Sydney. Then I did my Master of Property and Development in Sydney as well. Then I worked as a site engineer on site for 3 years, involved in mainly residential, but some of the commercial projects in Sydney. And then I started my PhD with Robert just after COVID. My research more focusing on industrialized house building, doing research about platforms, how product platform really brings new ways of delivering values for the customer and then new strategic options. Yeah, that's yeah. And then I'll see you in the tutorial.
Thank you. And then we have as well Sinori.
Hello everyone, I'm Senuri Sirivartana. First of all, nice to meet you all. You can call me as Senuri. I did my BSc in Sri Lanka as a quantity surveyor, and thereafter I joined to the industry as a quantity surveyor and worked there for about 1 year in both contractor company and consultant company. And there I worked as a procurement manager as well, and also after that I got the opportunity to join to the academia, and I worked as a research scholar in University of Moratuwa, and I also got my master's there, and then I got this opportunity to for my PhD to work with Robert here. So here I am doing my PhD in construction management, where I am researching on skills management for construction for control implementation in Australia. And also my expertise, my research interests are project management, skills management, and project culture, and construction management, and so on. So I'm really excited to work with you all in the tutorial sessions. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. And you have myself. I already talked too much about myself at the beginning, so I will stop it. But one thing I would encourage you to think about is I'm actually a senior lecturer in project management at the faculty, so I will as well be recruiting PhD students. So if any of those topics spark your interest, or you want to start a conversation, let me or my team know. Yeah, so we will be looking as well for new recruits probably by the end of this year. So if you consider a PhD or research, there will be opportunities. One thing to maybe add, so I mean, you can have a look at the path of my academic life, I guess, on the webpage as well. But some of the things that really fascinated me about project management is that I was as well initially a project engineer for, actually at the time, PepsiCo. I built big factories for crisps and bottling and so on in Southern Africa. And I got as well promoted out of engineering. So I'm as well one of the accidental guys that arrived in project management. And then I kind of, in PepsiCo, there's a very strong career-driven education scheme. I actually went back to academia and did project management to understand what I was kind of exposed to. But having said that, so those companies have actually very sophisticated project systems normally, or project information systems, so they work normally with quite thorough methodologies. So we can still benefit a little bit from that, but that was a long time ago. So I have been the last 16 years in academia. So yeah, so if you have any questions about this, happy to talk about this too. Okay. That's, oh, my guest lectures, I forgot the most important part. So in the past, I think we actually focused on two major projects to study as part of this subject. And now I have tried to actually extend this remit a little bit. So what I wanted you to get away from this subject as well is an overview what is actually happening in project management in different industries, different practices. So I've tried to kind of go in with a quite diverse background. Now, having said that, I have as well kind of government and public sector in the guest talks. So you will see this often links to infrastructure, construction, or actually administration, so IT systems. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise we have as well third sector, a little bit telecommunication, a little bit aerospace, a little bit infrastructure, a little bit construction. So it should be a good mix. Most of my guest lectures are confirmed, so we have always a 2-hour slot. So 1 hour will be probably one of our core team talking, and the second hour is always the guest speaker to the topic. Yeah? So that is kind of the setup. In some weeks, when we come to government and infrastructure, I wanted to make it controversial. So I have on one side OPV, yeah, that is the authority that kind of looks on the Treasury's behalf for how we run the projects. And then I wanted controversially to have as well the auditors, yeah, that actually decide if the projects delivered what they were doing. Yeah, so this is our only double talk in, I think, 4 weeks. But yeah, so just prepare. You will see a lot of faces here. Some are local, some will be international. So for example, when we talk about product approach to project management, so this is manufacturers, how they're actually feeding into projects, this will be international. Yeah? So, but yeah, let's see how this goes. So that is our setup for the teaching team. Yeah. Contact details are as well there. Now, let's come to the quick subject overview. So in this subject, we kind of want to focus on kind of a general toolkit, if you want. Yeah, so approaches, frameworks, tools, and techniques that you as a project manager can use basically to initiate and deliver your projects. But I guess with practice, and this is slightly, so in academic circles we wouldn't call it best practice, but we somehow try to look at good practice out there. Yeah. But I think the more you will study this subject, you will see that good practice or best practice in one sector comes with a lot of drawbacks for another sector or other projects. Yeah. So I think you will understand where I was coming from with this. Yeah. Now, specific learnings in this subject are we are looking at a feasibility study of a project. Then we have some tools that we are using for that feasibility. By the way, we have adopted here the framework of Victoria. So we are using here actually as a default the government frameworks for running major projects. Yeah? So you will be very familiar at the end with the Victorian framework, but we always contrast it, of course, to our international standards and frameworks. So you will see as well where we maybe fall certain things in or where there are other approaches around with it. Now, use of the concept of investment logic maps, that is kind of already hinting what our first project is about. So it's a project driven by an investment initiative. Yeah, so then our client or customer is probably more on the investor side, and we need to adjust certain tools. Then we have developed risk adjustment cost estimates. Then we have the conceptualized different levels of the project responsibility and accountability. Yeah, so how can we structure our project organization and who is involved and how? Yeah. And then clearly set the scope of a project through the use of boundaries and systems thinking. And here we have as well a super guest talk, so you heard it. Omar has studied this topic, yeah, as a master and as well in his PhD. He used some theory of this, so we will get a first-hand insight of like where basically research sits in this area. So we are doing this with system syncing, and normally this is about configuration management and interface management, yeah, or boundaries, how we actually sit within this. Then we have as well conceptualize appropriate project governance and how to work across cultural settings. So this is of course a super hot topic as well at the moment. You probably have seen in the news there were some projects like our beautiful rail loop or our VIC line extensions. Yeah, they're all struggling a little bit. So and often there are governance questions, or actually they want precedents for how to do it. Yeah, so that refers as well to the wind offshore park that in actually near future will probably come, but at the moment we actually don't have existing governance that can guide us in this project, which makes it quite risky for investors. Okay, mode of material. By the way, if you have any questions or any comments, just shout them in or say, hey Robert, I have a question for you. Yeah, so yeah.
Sam, how do you define a major project?
Oh, major or mega? So I mean, so we have major is kind of a definition here from Victorian government. So here you are kind of in the 150 million to 500 bracket, depending on when you started. Yeah. So they normally do this about budget and then as well scale how it impacts on the kind of regional economy. But then mega projects, that is academically a little bit more sound. This is normally $1 billion or more, and then once politics or economy are influenced, then we consider it a mega project. Yeah. Very good question. Yeah. Yeah. So mode of delivery of materials. So we have the lectures. I want to run this a little bit. You notice I'm talking too much. Yeah. So I want to actually turn this around a little bit and give you questions to kind of have a think and think about how you would do this. And then we have a look at the examples and discuss a little bit, or maybe similarities or alternatives that we're seeing in this. So this will be the 2 hours lectures here. This is weekly, right? And then we have tutorials and workshops. They are right afterwards. Now, very important. This week we don't have a tutorial. It will start next week. Yeah. So what we're talking today about will be kind of next week's tutorial. Yeah. So I guess you have a chance to get to know your neighbors, yeah. So make sure by the end of the class you exchange maybe contact details or have a quick chat with your neighbors, because particularly in the master, peer-to-peer learning is an enormous source for learning. Yeah. So make use of this. So think of working in a group if you want. Yeah. But so this is why weekly for 1 hour, and basically we have again interlinked the room. So actually, we were next to medicine, so a building behind. But maybe follow the link. So on the slides, I have interlinked the location. So in case you don't recognize the building, then it will still guide you there. Now, our tutorials are group activities, but as well peer-to-peer learning. We will use as well applications. Yeah. So that is kind of problem-based learning. We will have a look at a particular case or project, and actually apply the tools that we have covered. Yeah. Okay. Expectations. Right. So now to keep you motivated and at the same time, I guess, have achievements along the way. Yeah? So that that doesn't feel like okay what is the opposite? The opposite was when I was in the UK, we would kind of do the lectures and seminars, and then at the end we would ask you to write an essay about it, and that was then quite challenging sometimes. So here we have actually created it. So we encourage you to work consistently on it. You have small assessment parts as well that you can complete, where you can gain points, and yeah. So that is actually one. Is the per usual. Is everybody familiar with this? So it's a software. Can we actually show this, the example, or is this? Yeah? Yeah. Or is that tricky? Okay. So it's actually a pretty cool software. I have to admit that at the moment, every university has a different one. So I'm still relatively new to it, but basically what I did is I uploaded a paper to it. So, oh, I should probably click on it the proper way. So if you go to assignments, you can't see them yet, but they will magically appear. Oh, we have it. Yeah. Okay. There's a practice reading. So if you click on this, it will give you some details about policies, but then you can actually load the practice reading. And just so you know, so we sometimes, so this one is kind of self-marked, so you can work through it and answer questions. Oh, okay, I'm just setting up now, right? This is no, okay. Okay, maybe we can just click into the example directly. Yeah, okay. Okay, this didn't work so well. But okay, I encourage you to, so we have a very safe setup. So basically you go on assignments and you go on practice reading and you will find a paper. Actually, is this a standard or paper?
It's, it could be different things. So let me just show them really quick.
I just wanted to show them once the interface, right? So oh yeah, you have it perfect. Yeah. Is this coming through?
Okay, so you're going to see something like this. So you need to go to.
Yeah, the important part is go through assignments, because otherwise there can be alignment issues, right, with accounts.
Yeah. So you just need to go to perusal here. So you are going to have this link directly on your canvas. So just click here and it's going to direct you to the web page. So for this, you are going to see what is available for the subject week by week, or well, it's going to be actually every 2 weeks. The material that you have to read. So it's going to be available something like this for the first reading. Actually, you should be able to see it now. It is available now for you. And this is just the practice reading. So it will be there for, I think, like 1 week. So you have read through it. And the idea is that you need to give comments on the reading. So it is interactive with other students, so you can ask questions and you can answer to questions, or you can give directly comments on something particular. And the idea is to give at least 5 comments for each one of the assignments, each one of the readings, so you get the full mark. And the comments also have to be like with some content. They have to be on the topic, so you cannot just randomly give a comment without any context. So that is the way you are going to get the full mark. So give at least 5 comments with good content throughout the document. Not just at the beginning, not just at the end, throughout the document. Okay.
Yeah, super. And yeah, just to contextualize it, it's normally a question that we are posting that is relevant to our content. So normally you should be able to spot the sections quite easily. Yeah, and that was a, that is a yeah, I put it back on. That is a reading exercise. So this is where you can gradually collect 10 points in total. I'll show you that in a second. So that is for reading. And then every other week we have, we have the quizzes. Sorry, this was a previous point already. So we have as well the quizzes, and they are every other week. And that will relate to questions that are again content-based, but as well our guest speakers. So kind of insights or maybe frameworks that they have explained. But again, it will not be too hard. It's more comprehension and feedback for yourself that you kind of have achieved the learning outcomes for this particular lecture. Yeah. So this is a little bit, I guess, if you want feedback as well on your learning, a regular kind of stepping stone, if you want. Yeah. Okay. Then we want to have as well. Expectation is as well that we understand the different assignments and assessment criteria, so we will actually make them available. Yeah, I come to this. Then the tutorials and yeah, basically our canvas, our learning, well, literally what you have seen. So our this, yeah, so you should be able to see it too. That is Canvas, and that is basically where we expect you as well to engage with the weekly modules. Lecture capture is as well kind of recorded here. So if you missed something here in the lecture and you want to revisit it, you can speed me up or slow me down. Yeah. So this is all possible in lecture capture. And then this is as well where you have quizzes in per usual. But again, I would recommend go through assignments, because that is normally where it syncs your user account. So from what I understand from, if you click directly in per usual, it can be that your account isn't aligned, and that can be very frustrating. I mean, it doesn't really change your marks, but it will mean that the marks are not recorded in your Canvas. So this will be like you get full points in per usual, and then you're like, yeah, where is it? And you go to your gradebook and it's not there. It's still recorded in our system because we have another system behind it, but sadly it won't show. So if you click in here in assignments, it will align your account. Yeah, so this is the important part. Okay, too much detail on this, but yeah, we want a smooth operation, of course, with this. So this is how we can get it. Okay. Then, yeah, use the tutorials as well to ask questions. So some tutorials will be just run by our team, but in other tutorials, oh yeah, actually my international guest talks, so for example from Gropius and as well probably from Volvo, they will be in the tutorial, and this is largely due to the time difference. So I have to apologize for that, we have to switch that around. We will update this on the syllabus or kind of the week timetable, yeah, so you will be able to see that, and we will repeat it as well in the lecture and remind you so that you're actually prepared for that. Yeah. Now, oh yeah, by the way, very important. So I guess as well in general, I actually encourage as well questions, just ask them now. Yeah. So for me, this is I prefer actually more interactive class rather than just talking non-stop, but as well in the tutorials, if you have questions, ask them. You can as well use the discussion forum. Yeah, so if you don't like to ask the question directly to us, pop it into the discussion forum. We have set that up. Yeah, so in case you have something that it didn't come to mind now, but later, pop it in there. Yeah, then we can respond and pick it up next lecture or next tutorial. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very important point again. Visit Canvas LMS regularly. Announcements and updates will be posted there, and the announcements normally come as well through in the emails, right? So just be aware that when you are replying, use the button below if you want to post it back to all of us. Yeah, or copy our emails in. Right, so that's the other option. So otherwise that can go wrong, or you get potentially a failure message. Now, assessment items, we will have, but let me actually put them all down. Okay, I talked through them. So first we have a 2,000 word report that is worth 30%. This will be focusing on the project fundamentals. We will analyze one major project. I mean, my ideal case was to take one of my industry contacts projects, so you can actually ask them firsthand how they're doing all this. But so it's either that or one of the mega projects that we have here in Australia at the moment. So I'm still torn apart. I'm as well thinking about the electrification in the north could be interesting, or as well we had actually two years ago I had a submarine program as a case study, which was interesting. So we have as well potentially all the contacts for that. So that there is a subject to discussion. But if you have a project that you're particularly passionate about, throw it in. I will give it a try. If I can get at least somebody that was really the mega project manager to come to our course, then I'm happy to adopt that project too. Yeah. So if you have one, let me know. Maybe at the end, we can give it a go. So normally I get it. So let's see. Yeah. So could be good. Then we have the mini quizzes. So this is a double pack that Omar and I explained. So every other week we have a mini quiz. So that is normally 3 to 4 questions, and you kind of do that as part of the lecture. So I open this up here.
At the end of the, well, in the middle of the lecture.
In the middle of the lecture.
3:15,
Yes.
and it's going to close at midnight.
Okay. So 3:15 it opens. We make a break. You can take it here, so it doesn't eat into your extra time. If you feel you don't want to take it, or you are busy with something, or you need a break, then you can take it as well on the same day, right before midnight. That is our Melbourne time, midnight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be mindful with that. And I think the active readings is the same, right?
That one is going to be open for around 1 week, and
Oh,
they have
okay.
to read.
Yeah.
Just, so the general idea is that you're going to have, from now on, you're going to have 1 quiz 1 week, and then 1 reading for the next week. So it's going to be like that: 1 quiz, 1 reading, 1 week, 1 reading, 1 quiz, and so on and so forth. And by mid of the semester, you are going to have the individual assignment, that is their report. And then at the end, you are going to have a work, a group activity that is going to be a poster presentation about a specific project. And then at the end, you are going to have exam. So for the quizzes, for this part, for the quizzes, they are going to open in the middle of the lecture, and they are going to be available until the end of the day. So you can take it just once it's open, or at the end of the lecture. I would recommend you actually to solve it at the end of the lecture, because everything is fresh. Or if you have any problem, you can submit it later. Then for the readings, the idea is that after the lecture, also the reading is going to be available for the next week. So you have 1 week to read these readings that we are going to put in perusal, and then you need to give the comments on that. So you have to finish the reading, or your comments, by next lecture, before the lecture. Okay, so the reading is going to be available for 1 week. It's going to open after the lecture, and then you have 1 week before the lecture to finish the reading. And
Yeah.
And so presentation. Yeah.
So the active reading is starting for now or
The active reading, no, so you have 1 practice quiz and 1 practice reading. So those 2 are for you to get familiar with the way the quiz and the readings are going to work. And then from next week, you are going to start with a quiz. And the quiz, the first quiz, is going to have questions from this lecture, lecture 1. Then from the quiz, the second quiz is going to have content from lecture 1 and lecture 2, probably lecture 3, and so on and so forth.
But maybe to clarify, try it out, because we can see the feedback too. You can see other people's feedback. So it will give you like familiarity. And if you're really off, we will tell you. Yeah, so we will kind of not let you hanging. So we will tell you like, hey, in the practice round, make sure you use this function. You know, if something was missing. So just give it a go this week.
Yeah, if you
So
have,
that
if you
really
have any
fixes it.
problem, just let us know, and we will try to help you.
Omar,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that is the quality of the comments matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a mark. But I mean, if you have the 5 comments and they address the topic,
Is the
you know, then
quantity
it's
or
okay.
also quality?
Yeah, so it's goes.
Quantity and quality. So it's at least 5 comments on the topic that make sense, and throughout the document. Okay,
So it's normally
one
against
at
the
the
question,
beginning.
you know, so you want to kind of emphasize those and then make sure that you have the
Yeah.
5 answers as well.
Just try it and see how it goes.
Yeah, give it a go with a practice round and then we comment on it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, but so you will see once you have tried it out, it will be quite straightforward. Then we have as well at the end of the semester 10 minutes poster presentation, and this will be quite an intense format. As a team, you will do a pika kucha. in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. You don't have to know yet what it is. And then we have 4 minutes for questions. Yeah, so that there will be quite interesting format. So you will see it needs a lot of preparation to get a Pikakucha smoothly to go. But with a team, you should be able to actually divide this. So it's a little bit more intense if you're doing this by yourself. Yeah.
How many people?
Ah, okay, good question. So ideally 5 to 6. So we actually want to look at a complex project, so mega project level. So just to make it worthwhile, it's, I mean, if you are looking at groups, make sure you are no fewer than 4, ideally 5, and no more than 7. I think that is the workable. And have a look what Pikakucha is. That means you have to communicate in 20-second kind of rhythm, yeah? So this is quite intense actually. But it's fun, you will see it. It makes actually very efficient communication. And I mean, the style can be used in board meetings if you want. It's yeah, very efficient. Yeah, and then we have the last one. This is a take-home exam. This is in the exam period. And that will be an assignment. So we give you again a project scenario, similar to the project scenario we had before, and ask you a question. So you probably have to apply again your system thinking and analyze the project. And that you have, well, basically you get 48 hours to do that and to submit it. But from what I understand, you're kind of, if you take other subjects as well on the master, you're probably already are familiar with that format. If not, we do as well a test run with that. Yeah? Any question? Yeah.
Well, no, how many hours do you reckon it would? I do work full time.
Ah, okay. So it's normally pitched that Omar or I can do it in 1.5 hours, and then we give a multiplier of 3. So we expect you to have 4.5 hours to 8 hours, right, maximum. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. But we give you examples so you can see how long it takes you. So maybe keep an eye on the time. Yeah, and then how much time you spend actually on editing maybe or refining. So then you have a feeling. So if you notice it's longer than 8 hours, yeah, in theory you have the time, but if you work as well, then this is painful. Yeah. And any other questions at this point? I mean, we go as well in the tutorials actually into the individual assignments. So we discuss with you the case and look at the marking rubric that you kind of understand it and can work through it. This is more like an oversight for now, yeah? Important for the exam, we have a policy for that. So just be, in case you do run over the 48 hours, there's a late, basically a late submission penalty. So 5% per day. Avoid it if you can. But I mean, on a more serious note, if you notice that something isn't working out, before you do the assignment, get in touch with us, right? So, and just tell us, so you can get extensions as long as you notify us. Yeah? So, don't need to worry. Okay. What are we doing in terms of topics in this subject? So we look actually, and this is, I think, already the Victoria Treasury life cycle actually. So that Treasury is nearly like a bank, right? So this is where the money comes from. So this is actually a financial project life cycle that we have here. So we are looking at initiating projects. Now, in most other industries, that is a lot initiating, by the way. That is as well including project evaluation. Then we are looking at quantifying project-related risk. And then we have an introduction to project procurement methods. Then we jump actually into where we had already questions about the definitions. We look at complex projects, and we have a little bit of a look actually as well today already, what we mean by complexity and what that entails and how that changes the project management. Then we have our systems engineering spin here. Yeah, we have a system thinking approach here and look at complex adaptive systems. And last but not least, we look at cross-cultural project management, particular looking at the setting. If you have an international team, cross-cultural team, what that actually implies. Now in detail, I have the list here. So we start kind of with the business case. So that this has like certain items to it. So you can see it's interdisciplinary. So those that have studied economics already, you will be familiar with some of the concepts here. For I think a lot of you, this will be potentially new. Then we have the system thinking approach. And then last but not least, we look at the important capability of projects, people. So how does actually, well, what do people do in our projects? What are their capabilities, skills, competencies? What do they bring to the table? But as well, how do we make actually a happy project? And that is being aware of cultural values, differences, and as well preferences, more broadly speaking. Okay. Now, we are now at a natural break point, and it's 3:10. So I would say, how do you feel about a 10 minutes break? Is that a good idea? Or okay, there was a lot of nodding. I will just mention the alternative. There was as well the alternative to push on and stop 10 minutes earlier. No, okay. Let's do 10 minutes break. So we start again at 3:20 back here in the room, yeah? In case you want to go somewhere or freshen up. Yeah? If something goes wrong, and then policy point, you kind of not evaluate very shortly yeah, so a quick disclaimer, I actually developed master degrees for Soviet Army. So it's yeah, but having said that, I have actually not that much here. In the US, I had Canada, the large NPL, it's a major pipeline between Canada and this kind of oil sands. So yeah, you could probably get somebody from there as a guest speaker. Are you interested in a particular topic?
Yeah, I'm interested in the particular because I'm from the national I just want to know, I'm just curious. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah, so they have different projects, right? So it's more iterative, so we take out the system capacity, so there's an iteration.
Do you have any ongoing research regarding with the
yeah, so the quick answer is very superficially yes, but not the reality. So we have done recently the capability framework that we're comparing across industries, so that there we as well invest. But to be honest, this is French, so it's a particular framework. But that we otherwise, I really have to be more projects. We have industrial offshore, they're in the exploration phase, so and that's why we further north surface space. And we could have a look into it. So if you have any cool projects, let us know. We can investigate.
Maybe I will discuss you later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I think when we release the cases,
It makes sense for us to
and we also reciprocate. I think explore that. So actually, I think that oh, you want to run? It's a beautiful support. The reason why it's so much is I try to research the ground effect. So if you have something like this, so I mean, if it's right about there, like don't worry. It's very high. Starting in 2019. I see you construction well, that's why. So I actually have some more interesting. But the problem is the client is to be honest, with lectures they're normally quite happy. They probably ask the presenter to talk about the cost terms issues. This is normally sorry, that's what I can ask. Hey, please do that. Yeah, good for the yeah, that one is okay. But like if we show something that we should see, yeah, Do we have? Do you recognize that your neighbor next to you is back, or is somebody still missing? Okay, people are looking hectically. Somebody's still missing? Okay, they're missing. Yeah. Okay, I will restart then slowly. So technically, I think they still have half a minute left. Yeah, but yeah. Okay, let's start with the fundamentals of project management. And I mentioned, I think, that some of my career I've developed bespoke, largely master degrees or sometimes even research degrees for very big companies or universities. And I've worked with a lot of wonderful educators in this space and professional buddies together. And we had one workshop where we actually sat together with international professional buddies, and we tried to kind of mind map more or less and rich picture draw out what project management is about. And the common denominator was kind of two things. We have to understand, is it worth doing? Is the project worth doing? So that is the top part. And here we nearly come to ethical, sustainable, and valuable question. You know, do we create actually value with our project? And then the second part that we have to understand is, are we doing it right? Are we doing our project the right way? Yeah, and that is as well to do with maybe emergence, edge of chaos, and maybe there are rhythms that you are performing within. So those are normally the two core questions that you should ask yourself when you're doing a project. Yeah. And by the way, it's as well good for the conscious or for the mind. Yeah. If you are kind of on par with your project, then at least there's some level of identification with it, which normally means the project makes it a little bit more fun. Yeah? Okay, let's come to the fundamentals of project management. So first question for you, it's straight after the break, this is very intense. I want to hear from you, why do we actually do projects? I mean, we have all these permanent organizations, why don't we do that? Any ideas? I take guesses. Yeah.
Generate more income.
Yeah, but why with projects? Why not with a permanent organization, for example? It's a tricky one, yeah.
Maybe because we have a team limitation, so there is a start and there is an end also.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. It's limited. Yeah. So companies we normally start to keep them alive. Yeah. Projects we start to kill them, yeah, so quite drastic, yeah. But yeah, so you're right, yeah. So it has a start and an end, so it means we can walk away from it, yeah. And we have a point where we kind of account for what has happened, yeah.
Because it's not a business as usual activity,
Yeah.
or status quo activity, so
Yeah.
we have workforce for that kind of project.
Yeah, you're very smart. Yeah, so you turned around what I said. Exactly, you're spot on. Yeah, so it's normally projects we are not doing our usual business. Yeah, and can be for many reasons. Spot on. Yeah, so maybe we just don't have the capability, or it's larger, or something like that. Yeah, so we may want to support from somebody else. Yeah, spot on. Yeah. Very good. Other answers?
Manage resources.
Oh, yeah.
Some opportunities for short time. Some opportunities are not very permanent. So,
Yeah. So this is another dimension. So you look here already at the short term versus long term. Yeah. So maybe it's an opportunity that we can get into, and this may mean we want to do it separate. Yeah. So this can be particular in the startup or some projects where you see big companies coming together. Sometimes it's too risky to do it by yourself. So you do a joint venture or a new project, yeah, to actually do something else as an opportunity, because you recognize it may be an opportunity to get internal rate of return or something like that, yeah, a certain value. Yeah. Is that fair representation? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Okay, we had somebody else. Sorry, I.
Manage resources.
Yeah.
Management of resources according to them.
Yeah.
They have a limited number of resources.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah. So often we do projects if we don't have enough resources. So resource constraint, right? Or worse, we don't have actually what's required. Then projects are normally quite tempting to kind of scope it in. Yeah. Other?
Maybe risk management as well. You can put all the risk on somebody else too.
Yeah. So in particular, if your business, if the activity is too risky or too large, if the project is larger than your normal business as usual, then it's normally well desirable to outsource and reduce your risk. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Some other ones?
When doing some certain activities, so the relationship between you and some other stakeholders different from normal routine activities. So you need to separate apart to define the relationship.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So, I mean, you kept that nearly clean. So it's maybe you're working in your usual business in one way, and then to actually perform the project, you want to work with other players to actually do the project. So that can be down to skills, expertise, capability, capacity. So you can maybe just be flat out with your business as usual, that you need support staff, and that there can be as well other setups behind this.
So can we say that these projects are going to help in actually making a lot more connections within the system?
Yeah, it can connect, but okay, let's throw in this. This is good thinking. So I have a philosophic answer for this. Oh, I have forgotten my references here. So the resource constraint delivery is an old hat. That is actually, I mean, in the literature we kind of find this in the 60s already. Yeah, they discussed it a lot. And that was the notion like, if you in your company put all your resources into like a short-term endeavor to change something, this is probably suicide to your business. So this is where the intention of project came from. Now my UK colleagues will tell you that the resource constraint delivery comes from a very grim observation. They date this somehow back to even before the 60s, so they have it kind of in the 1938, and they recognized a different resource game. But what that related to was basically recognizing you don't have the resources to do this in your normal way, but maybe with a collaboration with other partners, you can actually achieve the overall project. So resources was here really referring to, at that time it was still man, machine, money, and materials. Nowadays we would probably call this kind of, they had the right people, they had the right equipment and kind of the right capabilities in play. But that is certainly one dimension. So projects are normally deployed to remove your organization from your permanent organization, your host company, to do something in a different temporal organization. Now this is the first one. Then we have a second one, and that is accelerated delivery. So projects we do as well to do things faster. So this is actually quite surprising. If you think about it, you would think if you have a permanent organization, you're very good, you're very efficient, but it isn't. So projects are actually there. And projects are as well transferable. So it's the idea that what you can do in one location, you can deliver in another location too. And actually, if you think of infrastructure project, we have even loosely coupled systems theory, that actually describes that quite well. So when we are coming to delivering high-rise, that you may see here in Melbourne City, it looks pretty similar as well in, random location search, Hong Kong, Dubai, Barcelona, you name it. They look roughly the same, but they are built with different staffing and with different systems and often even different methods. And still we come to something very similar that is a little bit like blueprints that are transferable basically. And projects are as well desire driven, so making the impossible possible. So that is a very big claim, but you will see underlying is that as a driver. Now, with projects, I grew up as well in a time where, I don't know if you have seen the same, I grew up with Star Wars and Star Trek. This probably gives just my age away. But there was always that, that with our future, we would as well start exploring the universe and kind of actually our planet a lot more, that we would be very knowledgeable. But there's a weird thing that comes with projects too, and that is we often forget about our advancement. So I don't know if anybody is following this. At the moment, kind of space travel, and first of all, there are a lot more agencies now that do space travel. But there's actually an interesting phenomena. We are reinventing what we kind of did in the 60s and 70s, and it was kind of forgotten. So it's an interesting one. So projects have as well a dilemma. They're good to forget things and do things in a different way. So there's even a claim that it changes culture quite drastically. Yeah? But okay, that is a little bit food for thought. So this is probably the most philosophic that we are going. Actually, I think, do you guys have a question, or it's just no? Yeah. Okay, so let's jump more pragmatic in. So let's go from philosophy to what is actually a project. So we have already the high-level frame. What is a project for you when you work? Actually, do we have projects in engineering? Yeah. So what are projects defined by? What you?
Scopes.
Yeah.
Scope.
Scope. Yeah. Or what is scope?
You're getting something done.
Yeah.
And then you define a timeline, budget.
Yeah. So you need something done. This could be a goal, right? Or a job to be done. Yeah. Yeah. And then we have time and maybe budget. And anything else? Yeah, I like that contract. Yeah. Okay.
You could also do a project yourself. So a contract, I don't see a contract very like
Yeah,
anything you do is a
spoken contract with yourself. Yeah. Or my favorite project. Okay, this is a little bit too much detail, but when I was very young, I had a portfolio of drawings. I tried to get into the Technical University Berlin for architecture, and I did this drawing, and they had an exhibition, and they kind of asked, so if we were able to attract from the people that were viewing the art one sale, then we got a point in this portfolio. It was quite arbitrary. It turns out I got that, and then I was really excited. Turns out my mom came and bought it. And I was disheartened about it, but this is a little bit what you're referring to, right? So my mom basically went to the gallery and bought my painting. Yeah, so this is a project to yourself. Yeah, so it turns out my mom did support my drawings. Yeah. But maybe no one else. Yeah, so it's a difficult story. Yeah, yeah. So you're right. You can have, but I mean, you could still argue probably in a contract sense. They would say, oh, this is a kind of spoken or like kind of in agreement with the exchange contract, so transaction-based theory, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we have that a lot. We have as well social contracts, right? So you are onto something there. Yeah, that is the space. Okay, anything else? Projects? Other important cornerstones?
methodology.
Milestone.
Methodology? I like it. Milestones, yeah. What is the methodology?
Like a project execution.
Yeah, can be an approach, right? How we are tackling the project. Yeah, very good. And then what is milestone? Yeah.
I think for every objective that we created, we need to break down for every milestone that need to finish for specific timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So milestone is kind of the indicator how far we have come in, often time related. Can be as well. Work packages can relate as well to parts, right? This was very popular in kind of aerospace. So they kind of said like half a satellite is nearly a satellite, but then it turns out 2 half satellites are actually not one satellite, and with planes it gets worse. But you're right, yeah. So you can actually compartmentalize this, yeah, and kind of see this in work packages, yeah. Other ones?
Scheduling of events.
Yeah, planning, schedule. Yeah, very good.
Specification.
Oh yeah, specifications, yeah.
Personnel.
The
Personnel.
personnel, yeah. Yeah, staffing, people, yeah, you're spot on, yeah.
Resources.
Resources, yes, yes, yes. This is a currency I was looking for, but I think we have most. So first of all, it's the temporary endeavor that we had. Normally, oh yeah, we had only goal, right? But it's actually a product or service often, or result. Yeah, so actually in politics it's normally more about results. So then examples develop software for an improved business process. Yeah, so and this is a fair. There's normally like a feature, right? So iterations. Then construction of a building can be a project. Yeah. Then relief effort after a natural disaster. Oh, this is quite good. And then I'd say expansion of sales into new geographic market. So this maybe you have a good product and you want to see now how you can bring it to Australia too. Yeah? Or specific outcome, maybe a research project where you're trying to kind of create grounds that you have actually industry applications that can build on it. Yeah? Now, there is, of course, let's keep the project for now as such. You had already other dimensions. I picked them up in a later slide. So at the moment, this is quite good. Now, what is then project management? What are we supposed to do there?
Planning, procurement, management, monitoring the whole project,
Yeah.
and assigning tasks to different people according to that, according to the milestone that we actually require.
Yeah. So that sounds already like waterfall, probably construction with contractors. Yeah. So that was a good description. So we are kind of responsible for organizing, planning, yeah, and maybe as well communicating about kind of schedule or actually how you want to organize delivery. And anything else?
Ensuring project delivery within budget and time.
Yeah.
Broadway.
Yeah, so ein triangle was actually what I was fishing for when I asked what the scope has in it. Yeah, so you're right. Yeah, so in time, yeah, on budget, and ideally to quality or success criteria or something like that. Yeah. There's well part of it. So that is your responsibility as a project manager. Yeah, and actually I have wonderful research studies with Ministry of Defense and what was it, Council of Industry of Construction Industry Council. And they gave me these quotes about what project management is about, and they came as well up with those. And then there was suddenly quicksand involved and snake pits and I don't know what. Yeah. So, but So anyway, so in a nutshell, as a project manager, you are responsible for the delivery of the project and how the project runs. Yeah. So and that is why the two questions at the beginning are so important. Are we doing the right project, and are we doing the project the right way? Right. So that is actually at the heart of this. Yeah. Now, you named them as well, I think, already in the earlier one. So we have planning, delegating, monitoring, and control as a key element. And then it's as well motivation. So often underestimated. So if you have a motivated team and you understand what they're motivated by, then you can go a very long way with a very happy project. But I mean, it's as well about achieving the project objectives, and then there can be as well performance targets. This is just where we describe how we want the performance to happen, right? So this can be quite challenging in itself, but this is what we referred to here. That was time, cost, quality, scope, maybe benefits, yeah, what comes out of the project and what the project is actually delivering, and as well how we are managing risks, owning or maybe taking insurance out or something like that. Yeah. Now it involves context. So this is around client expectations, budget, economy, political influences, and risk. I would probably add as well stakeholder requirements as a context. Then strategy is a methodology, so we had this as well, resource requirements and timing. And then we come actually to process, right? So this is procedures, systems, approvals, communication. Actually, a lot of the project management standards have not gone for systems. They see that as procedures and stages, so it's process models. but they come down to the same granularity. And then we have as well the tools and techniques. So I mean, here we're leading kind of with the civil engineering and construction tools, a critical path method for scheduling, right? Then risk modeling, estimates, business cases, feasibility studies. Oh, this is a mix. Okay, so different methodologies have here as well different expectations. So in this subject, we will actually have a look more detailed at the investment life cycle from Victoria, right? Now, ultimately, it looks like a lot of items, but this is, as a project manager, us communicating and coordinating, right? This is an important point here. So you are responsible for this. Now, that is where I kind of, I think you brought this up, right, with people. So in the literature, Morris and Pindo and Söderlund actually kind of summarized that. So they described our project management as you get a time, budget, and scope given, and then you are responsible ultimately for the delivery. And by the way, normally it's by handling the below. Yeah. So and here it's integrating basically all, looking after time, cost, scope, and risk, procurement, right? That is the contracts, and quality, communications, and human resources. Often it's worse. You kind of are on the performance-facing side as a project manager, and HR still does everything in the background, which can mean that you are reporting to a line manager and so on, which can get quite messy very quickly. Now, that in project management, we would call project management with a small p. So you are managing probably the project, but you have been framed. I will tell you this now. How have you been framed? By the project definition. Somebody else did it for you. So you have actually no chance. If the definition is bad, your project will probably fail. Yeah. So if you had somebody that was on your side and did a good project definition, then you have a chance. Yeah. But so in the literature, we separate this as the management of projects. Yeah. That is managing as well, kind of the concept and feasibility. So that is the definition, and it's often, that is where the complexity comes in. It's often not within your project necessarily. It's often about building the relationships and making sure you can actually see what's coming and deal with the emerging dynamics. Yeah. And okay, then in complexity, we come to the definitions later. There are whole levels of wonderful, how it can go further in terms of adoption with complexity. But this is a good start. So, and maybe just for the terminology, here it's important to recognize we got often the project definitions from something called program management or portfolios, or sometimes it's just your company strategy. Yeah, so when we come to our cases with a production approach, we have the NASA and Grofius. You will see those guys, they have whole production systems behind it. They have modularized a lot of their stuff that they're doing. They build extremely complex engineering stuff, often like a rocket engine or particular robotics that have to have contingencies in them. And that is then where a completely different setup for the project actually emerges. Yeah. Yeah. So there are alternative definitions. So we have here a quick run through it. So a lot of the definitions are professional bodies. Oh, anybody? Okay, you know now one. Professional bodies. Does anybody know any? Project management?
Sorry, can you come again?
Professional bodies? Okay, for engineering. Any professional body that you know? Okay, which one do we have here in Australia?
Society of Petroleum Engineers.
Yeah, can be, yeah. Is there another one here in Australia? Professional bodies? Is this not a big thing in our... I thought this was really big in our course. Okay, no, maybe not. Okay, I was fishing here for Engineers Australia or something like this, yeah. But, okay, project management maybe? Okay, you hadn't had a look yet. Okay, this is good. We can really learn here something. So we have, basically we have two very big bodies. One is PMI, that is America-based, and it's very common for multinationals. It's as well commonly applied here. So for example, if you use an ISO standard called 21,500, you will have naturally PMI in it. And if you stay here with the Australian framework, we have the Australian Institute for Project Management. And they are part of the European umbrella, which is IPMA and the UK one, Association for Project Management. Yeah, so, but okay, let's have a look how they're defining it and why is it different. So we have project management is the use of specific knowledge, skills and tools and techniques to deliver something of value to people. So this is good. This could be as well any other job, but it shows us how it's structured, right? So actually, this is very important to understand PMI. PMI has knowledge areas, and if you do the accreditation, there's an exam about the knowledge areas, and then you do a proof record on which project life cycles you have worked. This is kind of a resume, yeah? CV with a star. What have you been doing? Yeah, so you're describing actually the projects you have been working on, how you have managed it, and how the framework was relevant or not. Yeah, so then you get actually a certain level of accreditation. I'll show you later. Yeah, so it's actually about recognizing and using the tools and techniques as appropriate to your project context. So this is what you're discussing. Now then we have APM. So this is actually UK based. This is the Association for Project Management. Major difference, APM is a professional charter in the UK. They sit actually in the parliament, have parliamentary privilege. So they're actually advising. And you have to be a chartered project manager if you want to work on any on the UK's mega projects. Yeah? So even if you're an engineer, then this is actually probably required for you if you are kind of in the lead design or project engineering space. So they define it a little bit different. They look at it as process, method, skills, knowledge, and experience. So they are actually, and specific project objectives, how those were achieved. And they have actually a mentorship scheme. So if you're applying there, it's as well experience-based, but you need somebody in the company or a mentor that certifies that you have done this work with those particular processes. So it's a little bit more intense, a little bit harder to get. Hence, there's a bigger pay job in the UK if you have this, yeah? But this is maybe more strategic here. And actually, they have moved recently to a behavior spin. So they want to see certain behaviors that they're specifying. But I mean, it builds kind of on the experience. And then, here I have to read and make an informed guess. Application of the function and activities of management to the project throughout its life cycle, conceptual sales through development, design, construction, operation, this looks, that could be CIOB. That is actually from, I think, construction and building industry, and potentially asset operation. So I have lost here the reference, or is it coming up? No, yeah, okay. So either infrastructure or buildings, definitely. Yeah? So I owe you that reference. But so they are professional bodies that have their own one. And actually, yeah, to preempt, here in construction or infrastructure, if you're there, we use a lot the REBA framework of work. Yeah. So in case you were wondering, if you want to see the overview, we can have a look at this as well, maybe in 2 weeks' time. Okay. Now that was quite sporadic kind of definitions that we're on the same page. Now we want to jump a little bit into project life cycles. And this is where it gets interesting. Yeah? This is where you understand what we focus on in a project, what the client or we as stakeholders decide is important. So, so what is a project life cycle? Well, life cycles normally come from, I think, if anybody does biology or something like this, you will say, hey, wait a minute, life cycle we had already a long time ago in biology. It's true. This is where we stole the concept from. So we recognize when you're doing something, there are certain phases or stages of activity, what you're focusing on, that are repeating. And that is what a project life cycle is. We are looking here on what we are focusing on. So for example, the treasury one from Victoria here is initiation, execution, and completion. And actually, if I remember correctly, they are finally divided by a gate review process. Yeah. So if you want your project in, you apply, you have a problem, you identify it. Actually, as researchers, we can even propose, we say, hey, you didn't know this, but this is your problem. We think we should do a project on this, yeah? And then they review this, and then they say like, oh, thank you, Robert, not a good idea. Huh? Or they say like, awesome idea, okay, let's do it. And they initiate it. And then we get money, and we have to kind of build a project organization. And then they say, like, oh no, we want some experts from there. And so you do the recruitment, and then you actually go again to the gate and you say, okay, we have now this team, we can do the project. Let's do it. Let's design it and make it. Yeah? And then they approve, and then for the treasury, they are like, okay, now they're executing. But actually, for us as researchers, we are still designing. We are not making anything yet. So just be mindful with this. So for the treasury, that makes a lot of sense. They've given you money and probably start, right? So you're in the execution, and then you're executing and delivering, and then you've completed, and then they're interested in the asset, right? Or whatever you have made, product or service, yeah? And that is why then, again, it's a gate review, and they look like, okay, is this actually operatable? Is this wonderful? Do we need to modify it or something? Yeah? So again, a review point, and then it's a completion phase. That is normally as well liabilities and insurance and so on that become quite interesting there. Okay. Now, how do we actually come to a life cycle? How can we do this? Now again, I have to give credit here to my team, the rich picture exercise. So this was actually Gro's interpretation, actually our interpretation, but she visualized it amazingly. So if you look at all industries and more or less what are the project life cycles, you have kind of a very clear line based on how predictable or uncertain your projects are. Now, be careful. So with probability, we have as well uncertainty, but it's not real uncertainty. So with complexity, you normally come into real complexity, real uncertainty, but I mean, not too much of it. So we have on the one side the predictive, and this is waterfall. So we may not know it, but iteratively we can get to pretty good understanding, and we can even structure it. So it starts normally waterfall at an initial point where you have an idea or a concept of something. Yeah, and then the next stage you want to see, is it really feasible? Okay, then next stage can we plan it? Can we actually get the resources to do it? Okay, next stage, and then can we actually deliver it with this? Yeah, we plan for delivery, and then we deliver it. Is it actually what we wanted? Yeah, close up, beautiful. Yeah, waterfall, done. So this is normally coming together with command and control. I don't know who said that earlier. This is normally where you have to kind of guide the process. So you really want to kind of say like, okay, this is a sequence of activities we need to do. So make sure that you can do it then. Yeah, so this is kind of a little bit leading with program. Yeah, so control, command and control. Here you can play games around fixed price. Prices can be related to gateways. By the way, this is a very good idea, yeah, with buildings, or to milestones as well. So you have these indicators of how you're progressing. So that is predictive. And don't get me wrong, predictive can be very complicated too. So we have as well built submarines with predictive, and that goes very quickly, very complicated. Yeah, so you can still have multiple concurrent ideas that you're entertaining to just see what's the most appropriate. But it's a cool project life cycle for probably most of our industries. Now, iterative is kind of a spiral model, and that is like uncertainty and risk is a little bit higher, but you can kind of work on iterations around proof of concept and prototypes, then see which prototypes perform the best, and then you may work here with fixed price or I was thinking here of the contract time. So I mean, this can be just contracted on iteration basically, and the tolerances, and this is actually really good. We do that a lot in research, in engineering, right? So you too maybe have done prototypes before. It's normally quite cool, particularly if you have some part that is very complicated. Then we have the incremental, so one module at a time. This is where we are moving a lot in construction at the moment. So we try to bring more sensory and futuristic digital stuff into our buildings, right? And this is exactly where we have to move to something like that. So modularity can actually kind of reduce complexity in the management. although embraces actually technological complexity. Yeah? And then Agile is, if you really don't know anything, then you just do it in runs. Yeah? So actually Scrum is a hidden tool there. Yeah? So you have no idea what you're trying to do. You sit the client down and you ask like, is this what you're trying to do? And then they say like, yes, no, then you do another run. Yeah? Based with feedback, you iterate basically till you're getting somewhere where it looks promising. And Agile finishes when the client accepts or whatever your criteria are. Yeah? So this is normally a price related to time and material invested. So this normally, I mean, if you really run that plane without any margins, then this is more or less just doing paying your costs, right? So your resources. Yeah. Okay, and that is probably this is what you want to use when you really don't know. Where is Agile popular? Does anybody know? Yeah, startups? Yeah. Apps? Yeah? Yeah. So it's absolutely correct. So startups, yeah, if you don't know, you have a cool business idea. Actually, that is what Peter is doing in his PhD. We are looking how they're iterating, yeah? And there's very random iterations that suddenly make a solar business model suddenly a super success, yeah? And suddenly the whole world wants your product, yeah? And you're like, oh, what happened? Why didn't they like this one? Yeah, but so this is really where you kind of try to prototype and see user experience-based minimum viable product. So they have a lot of concepts around it. We do the same in software. Yeah, so in IT apps, this is normally as well a preferred style. Yeah.
What is the difference between agile and iterative? Because sometimes in agile we do iteration also.
Yeah. So, but okay. So iterations. So they have potentially organizational overlaps. Yeah. So actually, all but waterfall explicitly kind of stipulates here the learning. Incremental is a little bit different, that you normally have parts that have to be embedded. Yeah, so you have kind of lead architecture in the organization. And in Agile, you have no organization. So as well in the iterative, you normally have a lead kind of architecture to the organization or priority. But don't worry, we don't have to understand this yet. We have a lot of examples coming where we exactly work through this, so you can get a little bit of a taste for it. But yeah, so iterative is really kind of the circular notion. So you have normally working on a proof of concept, a proof or prototype. So you have often a lot this testing scenario, whereas in Agile this may not be the case. You know, in Agile you can just have another feature, and if the client is happy with it, you take it. So there's actually less of a process loop in that case. Yeah, in your app companies this may be different or hybrid. Yeah, so this is possible. Yeah. Okay. Now with the lifecycle models, you can as well kind of think about how programmable it is. So again, you have said here how easy is it to measure your outcome. So you have high and low, and then perfect and imperfect. And again, here you can kind of, again, categorize your life cycle models that we had earlier. So when you're walking in the fog, that is basically where Agile is quite good. And if you are in building a house or painting by numbers, this was a cynical comment. So if you're kind of doing IKEA, then it's probably more predictable, so you can go waterfall step by step. Yeah. Okay, so curious case of discovery, a spacesuit. Yeah, I wanted to kind of at least introduce you once to a project lifecycle, and maybe conceptualize a little bit what the problem with the project lifecycle is. So this is a very good project lifecycle. So this one is actually APMs, and it's targeted at infrastructure projects or government projects. And just to give you, I mean, high level the idea, so the concept, it's really about design decisions often. You can run competitions for innovation. So this is normally where you kind of set the premises of what you want. It's normally investigating technical and financial issues, so very high level on the customer and client, focusing on value. Then in our case that I wanted to discuss here, this is a spacesuit. and it's a spacesuit in case that we go that way, that you can fly in a plane for holiday out of space of our planet, and in case this plane gets hit by a little asteroid, which we wouldn't hope for, then you can pull this suit out under your seat, put it on, and jump back to planet Earth. You think fiction? No, this is the case. Okay. So anyway, this was the concept idea. They were like, okay, better have insurance, yeah. So that was actually Virgin Galaxy, right? And there are some other players in that field. They had this idea that they need kind of insurance, right? So parachute is good, but spacesuit with parachute even better, yeah. So they did a feasibility study. Okay, don't worry too much about the process. So here it was more like figuring out what's the difference. So most people can't put a spacesuit on. So first problem was actually how can a normal person put a spacesuit on by themselves? So that was the first challenge, and this was actually then commercialized. They realized as well that NASA didn't have a budget for it. They were like, hey, Virgin, you have to do this by yourself. And then Virgin was like, hey, but you are crediting the spacesuit, so I kind of need some money. And then they were like, oh, we do an extreme event. Let's get Red Bull involved. Yeah, that is cool marketing, yeah. So they kind of found a way of making this feasible, and then they had a definition. So they said like, oh, it's an extreme event, so let's get a guy called Baumgartner, I think was Austrian's name, and who was a parachute diver and extreme sports person from Red Bull. And then they kind of were like, okay, let's test it. So they did a lot of proof of concept and as well prototypes, and then actually in reality, I think Baumgartner jumped a few times with the suit. So this is actually partially the suit as it is now. And so he jumped already many times actually to planet Earth, but out of a plane and higher altitude plane. And then they came finally to the big thing. They hosted an event. Who knows what the event was called? Anybody? No? No one saw? Oh, yeah. Okay, space dive? No? Was that not a thing? Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it was 2016, 2017, yeah, and they kind of took a stratosphere balloon and put a little capsule on the bottom, and then flew him up, and then I said, this is a shot. And then he was like, I have reached stratosphere, I will come now back to planet Earth, and jumped out, and then basically, yeah, just, I mean, to be honest, if you look at the video, he's very quickly away from the capsule, but then the side shot is, you don't know. There's no reference point here, so anyway. But so he was just hovering there for a while, and then eventually, happily, actually there was a little bit drama in between, yeah, where mission control had to kind of see if he was getting consciousness back, yeah, but he got his consciousness back. So just the big lesson is don't lose consciousness if this all happens to you and you have to jump back. Yeah, but anyway, he made it, and then they had like kind of reflections on it. So after the execution, there were the learnings from it, and they even optimized and made the helmet lighter and so on. And that was a full project, right? Now, is your project life cycle the same? Have you ever worked in something like this? Oh yeah, sorry, very important. No? So is the life cycle comparable to the projects you are working on? Yeah. So how far? What is comparable?
So there is a feasibility study first, and then investment decision, and then engineering detail, construction, commissioning, startup, and cost out report.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah, and so your reference is actually oil and gas.
Yes.
So then often when you hand over for operations, you really have operations actually testing the whole system, right? That is normally the final handover, and trying to actually run it at capacity and do the different test scenarios.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, so in some industries that actually overlaps. Now I showed this actually as a case to make the case for a little bit extreme project life cycle. but there is some overlap. So when we are looking at the project lifecycle, this is often about making the link of the project lifecycle to other project lifecycles. So what are the general insights that we actually can take from it? Now, here comes my quick spin to this. I mentioned if you want to do a PhD, there is actually a lot of research out there. So in project management, we have evolved project management with those projects. Yeah. So it's not something that we have done like pure science, where we have a good base theory and build up from there. So physics, okay, we can do structural mechanics, and yeah, it's somehow related to physics. Now chemistry, okay, we have some basic insights. So project management, we actually started consciously learning probably 20, 40 years ago. In some countries, you have a longer track record. In many countries, a shorter one. So this is why you see there Apollo and big projects that kind of determine it. More recently, actually, it's Olympics in London, or here the level crossing removal. We are reiterating here a lot of project management at the moment. So just be aware. And yeah, and you can see as well the production approach is more recently. This is actually coming from NASA. They have gone as well away from this incremental life cycle to actually the modular one. It's cheaper, yeah. So you do destroy more, but at the same time you can actually handle it better. So if you look at this is a little bit where our areas come from. So you have the topics of commodification, assurance, governance, professionalism, externalities, risk, benefits. So it's always risk and opportunity, right? That is normally interesting. Then you have quality, a lot of operational, operations research came as well from phasing and schedule. Actually, Gantt chart is super old, right? That is how we were building bridges and scheduling work like over 100 years ago. And then you have as well kind of performance management, benchmarking, technology. Now at the moment, again, super big technology, right? It's re-emerging. Procurement, we are looking at the moment a lot at open innovation, responding more to complexity, climate change, and as well potentially security, and knowledge management. And last but not least, organization and people, as well with industrial relations history. So that is where this is actually coming from. Now, on that front, I just wanted to show you this maybe as consideration for doing research. Where we have different multidisciplinary dimensions that we are analyzing in project management. And some are home for project management, so optimization, contingency, and as well modeling and decision making, I think are home for engineers. And then there are some that are maybe more in other disciplines. So when it comes to governance, as well behavioral side is normally more psychology or management, right? So there are some topics that will feel more home or less home. Okay, long story short, yeah, those are the topics I'm noticing here as well. I'm running out of time, but what I wanted to say, and this is an important one, most of those initiatives come actually from solving concrete problems in your projects. Yeah? So most of the knowledge area, yeah, good, we have organized it kind of and categorized it by knowledge areas and so on, but most of our tools and techniques are coming from practitioners, from our projects, from the projects we face. Yeah? So that is maybe quite unusual in terms of topics. Okay, now there's an issue. What does that mean? That means we do more projects. That means we can write more standards. That means we will have a proliferation of more standards. Yeah, so you see the dilemma, but joke aside, so I mean, it's true. The more projects we do, the more we're researching this, the more we get a refined understanding about it. But there's a practicality, so normally there's a pragmatism about it, how we can scope it back. So yeah, let's jump quickly into an example. So this is the Department of... Yeah, so this is a Victorian government infrastructure investment policy framework for the Treasury. So here you can kind of see they run their project life cycle in a business case, procurement and delivery, and then equally divided by gateways And the last one, after the third one, delivery, there's another gateway for benefits evaluation. Here you can kind of see high level, it's the same format, so they're kind of trying to establish the need, define the benefits, what the project tries to achieve. Then it comes to the procurement. So